Hey Bulldogs, August O's here, your Summerfield School Superintendent, coming to you to talk about sinking funds. So over spring break, which the district went on spring break last week, our third edition of the Aware, which is the first one that actually went out in print. We used everyday direct mail. We sent it out to anybody in the district or everybody in the district. They started arriving in mailboxes. It started some good conversation online. Our intent all along was to get back from spring break and really start pushing information out there. This video is going to be coming out today, Tuesday. We have another video for Thursday where we're looking specifically at boilers. We're going to really start flooding information with what the sinking fund request and what revenue from a sinking fund would do for Summerfield schools out there, just so individuals can take the time to educate themselves on the why behind it and what they can expect their money to go towards, and then just have that information to make the best decision on what the appropriate vote is for them. We respect your vote, whatever it might be. We just want to make sure you have the information to make an informed vote. So in the Aware on page 3 and 4, we had a 2-page spread specifically on a sinking fund. We did have a community meeting back. It was a state of the school address that Ms. Klosinski, Ms. Bucher, and I hosted back in January. We did talk about a sinking fund first with the public at that meeting in January. We've talked about it at the board level with our elected Board of Education. Just probably starting before that, October, November, we wanted to go to the community and touch base with them and get some input. We did that in January, and that led us to knowing that we were going to move forward with the sinking fund request that will be found on the May 6th ballot. So you may have seen it in the Aware. We actually have flyers that are out there and informational flyers. Those are out there. But we wanted to start putting some videos in front of you just so if you had the time, you could learn more about it and we want to make sure we're answering your questions. So first and foremost, like, what is a sinking fund? Sinking funds really generate money that can specifically go towards building upkeep, right? Building renovations, building additions, taking care of the buildings that we currently have. When I think of that, the things that I first think about are things like boilers, air handlers, electrical, sidewalks, parking lots, the typical things that a school has to upkeep to keep moving and make sure we have a secure environment. There are 3 areas in a sinking fund. The law very specifically lists what's allowable and what's not allowable. That's one of the great things about the sinking fund. You know that your funds are going towards certain areas because it's not legal to put those funds in other areas. So in a sinking fund, there's 3 allowable expense areas that are the areas that I wouldn't typically think of. One of them is transportation, which the district would intend to use revenue generated from the sinking fund to set up a bus purchasing rotation where we are getting maybe some of the older models in our fleet, the higher mileage, the ones that are taking a little bit more maintenance on the annual basis. We'd like to cycle those out and then replace them with new or used buses. They'd be new to us, of course, but new or used buses, depending on what the best route forward is once that search begins. So we would like to set up a rotation there. School safety is allowable under a sinking fund. We have a school safety committee. We haven't met since fall, but we had some volunteers from the community that came in. We specifically talked about this. We looked at a specific product. There's some things we would like to do that would specifically address communication in the event of an emergency. We would have the intention of putting some money towards school safety, and there'll be a video talking more about that here prior to the vote. And then the third area is actually technology, which we have zero intentions of using any revenue generated from a sinking fund on technology. Monroe County voters already approved the tech millage. That goes back years now. I think actually back in the 90s. That money is generated specifically for technology in our schools. So that's an area that's allowable with the sinking fund by law, but we wouldn't have any intentions of doing it. On the flip side, I guess the question will be, what can't sinking fund dollars go towards? Can't go towards salaries, can't go towards benefits, can't go through consumables. We can't use sinking fund dollars to buy curriculum or curriculum programming, textbooks. It can't be put towards routine maintenance. So like lawn care, snow removal, cleaning of our classrooms. None of those are allowable expenses. And I think the last one is furniture. We can't actually replace the furniture in the building with sinking fund dollars. Question, what are the benefits of a sinking fund? So the big benefit that I think of is that it keeps money in the classroom. So we know, if I think right now of the roof, we have a local community member who has went above and beyond for us over the last couple of years, and this precedes my time here. I've only been in the district since the summer, but there's a community member that has volunteered and actually been fixing our roof for free. But as our roof is getting older, and you know how it is, if the needs are not addressed, oftentimes the issue gets a little bit worse and a little bit worse. We've reached that point where, first of all, it's not fair to the individual to ask them to continue to come back and fix our problems. We want to put maybe a longer term fix on it. But we're at that point where that individual cannot maintain it, nor should he be expected to. We appreciate everything he's already done. But we know that it would take for the elementary roof and then the junior, senior high school roof to fix the weak spots. The field rubber is actually good right now. There's still life on that, but we know the seams and there's some weak spots on it that need to be addressed. And that's what's requiring a lot of fixing right now. To fix those on both roofs, it would cost right around $220,000. So we know it needs to be done, right? We can't have a leaking school building. So if a sinking fund, if that is our attempt here, right? We're going to go and we're going to ask the voters to consider approving a sinking fund. They have to make the best determination for themselves. But if it does get approved, money would go towards fixing the roofs. If it doesn't get approved, that doesn't mean that our roofs don't need fixed. We still need to fix them. We just need to take some general fund dollars and put towards that, which essentially is taking money out of the classroom where we want to keep that money, right, with the instructional part of why we're here, the teaching and learning. But it would pull it out of the classroom and put it towards, in this case, the roofs. Or if we want to look at another example, the air handlers. Both buildings have air handlers that need support. It will have to fund it. It has to be taken care of, right? If it doesn't get taken care of, the issue's going to even become even more. But our goal is to keep money in the classroom as much as we can and have a dedicated account specifically for the issues that we're talking about. So let's talk about state of Michigan and how schools are funded. Public schools receive $9,608 per pupil from the state of Michigan. That's considered our operational budget. So when we talk about operational budget, then that's another definition, and that's pretty much, if we want to do our teaching and learning, the nitty gritty of why we're here, preparing kids for the future to be strong citizens, to set them up for whatever path forward that they want, that is what those dollars are actually intended for. In Michigan, and every school is different. I have a buddy that is down in Bowling Green. In Ohio, operates on a whole different set of rules. But in Michigan, if you want to make larger scale building improvements, infrastructure improvements, if you have larger projects, the responsibility of funding those projects truly falls on the district. So there's a couple different ways that can happen. One of them is through a bond. There's two local schools that I know of, at least right now, Mason Consolidated and Whiteford Agricultural, that have a bond on the ballot coming up. It's from a sinking fund. Summerfield has a sinking fund on the ballot coming up in May. Or it could be a different one. It's called a limited tax obligation bond, which it's the district kind of borrowing money to address different issues. When you do that, it gets paid back in interest over time. And if it was a smaller scale, if Summerfield was facing maybe we just needed one thing taken care of or maybe just this other thing taken care of, we could go that route. But the needs of the district are just too big right now for going the limited tax obligation bond route. And we need to look more of the bond or the sinking fund route. And because our needs are infrastructure based right now, and the way the law really specifies what sinking fund dollars can go towards, that is what led us to making the decision to put a sinking fund on the ballot in May. So I'm going to put on the screen a website. Mackinac Center has an article out about school funding, things like exactly like we're talking about right now. I'll pop that up so you can see it right here, and you can just see what the intention of school funding is. Let's talk about how a sinking fund is different from a bond. So in both cases, they both need to be voter approved. Sinking funds, though, they're restricted, right? You can only use the money on these things. You cannot use the money on these things. So bonds involve borrowing money that taxpayers must repay over time with interest. So we're going to talk about this in a future video. Let's say we wanted to maybe build a whole new school. Based on local numbers of the schools that have been doing the research on this, Ida and Dundee specifically, we estimate that to put an elementary school on the high school property would cost $40 million. To do that, you get all that $40 million up front, and then you repay it over time with interest. Largely, it's over a 30-year repayment term. 30 years keeps your annual cost down, so that's oftentimes the option the district goes to. With a sinking fund, you're not getting all the money. in the next question, we're going to talk a little bit about what is generated. If the district is expected to generate $5.8 million, we want to get $5.8 million up front with the sinking fund. That $5.8 million would break down to $580,000 approximate dollars annually for 10 years. So the money is collected, the money is diverted to the school, and then that money is used to specifically address the areas that are allowable under a sinking fund. There's no interest being repaid. It's collected and it's used. It's collected and it's used. One of the benefits of a sinking fund, in my opinion, is that money does not have to be spent in a given year. We know, when we talked about the roof a moment ago, we know that the roof, we're putting a short-term fix on it with the expectation that we can get another 10 to 12 years out of it. But if the roof eventually is going to need to be replaced. So our intention would be to take a little bit of money every year and set that aside, so we have some money set aside for those larger scale capital improvements, or for example, a brand new roof, without going back to the voters. So the sinking fund will be taking care of our needs now, but the way that it's structured, it also is like a savings account that allows us to kind of put a little bit here every year. So in 10 years, we can look back and have money to take on some of those larger scale projects if we handle that money responsibly. When we handle that money responsibly, I should say, because we have every intent to be as responsible as we possibly can be and as transparent as we possibly can be with the community. Okay, we quickly talked about this in that last question, but how much revenue would a sinking fund generate for Summerfield schools? Based on our tax base, Summerfield schools would, on 2.5 mils over 10 years, Summerfield schools would generate roughly $580,000 per year. So over the course of 10 years, that'd be $5.8 million. That could specifically be used on the allowable uses of sinking fund dollars under state law. And then the most important question, how much will the proposal cost me? If the sinking fund goes through, what is it going to cost me? Rightfully so, right? You work hard for your money. We want to make sure you know exactly what it's going to cost. Really, there's two things that we have to keep in mind. There's market value and there's taxable value. If the market value of your home is roughly $140,000, that's how much, if you listed it today, you could likely sell it for. The taxable value is half of that. So half of $140,000 is $70,000. To calculate what a 2.5 mil request would cost you, we would take $70,000 divided by 1,000, you get 70. Take that 70 and multiply it by the request. The request is 2.5 mils. So in our case, 70 times 2.5 is $175 per year. That is your cost. So the district request is kind of what dictates whatever you're multiplying it by the end, but you always would start with your taxable value divided by 1,000. In our example, it was 70. Then you multiply it by the request. The request could be 2 mils. It could be 2.5 like it is. It could be 2.6, 2.7. It could be 3. After getting community feedback, our district, Summerfield, landed on 2.5. And that's what gives you the $175 per year. If you wanted to break that down to a monthly cost, I think that'd put you just under $15 a month. It'd be $14.58. So expect more videos. We're going to work on getting one together. We appreciate another community partner bringing in an individual to help us talk about boilers. That video will be ready for you, I believe, on Thursday. We'll push that out. And then really every week, there's going to be a couple of videos coming your way. And again, our intent is not to tell you how to vote. We want you to vote how you need to vote. But our intent is to give you the information that you need to just make an informed vote and know exactly what the district is intending when they come to you with this request. We don't take that lightly. We know people, again, they work hard for their money. We're not looking to come at the district or come at the community with the large request. We appreciate the feedback we got after our State of the School address back in January. That's what led us to landing on our 2.5 mils. And we've got a lot of good conversations along the way. I do want to point out we do have 2 opportunities coming up with community meetings. We have one in the morning and one at night, hoping that if you're an interested individual, at least one of those would work for you. Thursday, April 17th at 9 a.m. in the high school media center. That is an opportunity to come in and talk specifically about sinking funds, or the other one is Monday, April 28th at 6 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. So those 2 are coming up. If those don't work for you, give me a call, shoot me an email, and we can definitely schedule a time to have a conversation. But again, our goal is to inform you the best that we possibly can so you can make the best call for you in your specific situation. So again, thanks for your time today. Look for more videos in the coming days and weeks. May 6th is voting day. So we're going to give as much information to you going into that May 6th vote as we possibly can. Thank you. Have a good day.